paper magic will survive like the heat death of the universe, and will...
Oh, it's a smuggler's copter. Would you like to crew this? And then it crashes because they don't understand arithmetic.
All your cards belong to me.
2 minutes into macing him in the eyeballs, I switched to pepper spray. He's like, that's downright refreshing. And went back to the mace.
Magic is dying. I'm done. Selling everything.
I might be a hoarder. And yes,
I don't have the crayons or glue to explain this to you right now.
What, are you gonna die twice?
Oil will be worthless before magic cards will.
Well, okay, Dr. Man.
That's Mr. Dr. Professor Jason.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Brainstorm Brewery. I'm Corbin Hostler, joined this week by, and I want to make sure I get this right here, DJ, BJ, and the editor, JJ, is listening to us from the beyond. That's what we got here. Welcome in, BJ, to the show.
Well, thanks for the invite. I don't think we've met before, Corbin, so I'm delighted to be here.
It is really nice to meet someone like you on a place like this, I guess. Anyway, welcome
What was
into
that
the show.
first date level of person who's about to die from...
So for people who don't know, BJ and I have been working coverage together for almost a decade, and that means many, many GPs, very many late nights and misadventures, as you might say. So,
And me
glad
having
to
to
have
call
him onto the
housekeeping
show.
to get new comforters because you use them like napkins for your chicken nuggies. Yeah, that's just
Okay.
happened.
I'm gonna need you to elaborate on some Corbin lore here for everybody.
Oh, you'll like it, DJ.
We'll save it for later in the show, but we'll definitely do that. We don't want people listening for a second and then leaving because they got all the goods.
Yeah, they wouldn't want to hear about me eating Domino's on my hotel bed.
It's amazing every time.
It is. Anyway, welcome into the show, everybody. We are going to talk about, there's a lot that's going on because while BJ and I were at the Pro Tour last week, online, there was a little bit of what you might call some leaking being done. We've got some Modern Horizons info. And as a result, they released some stuff out this week early about Modern Horizons 3. So it's still, a little ways away, but we're going to get into the leaks here a little bit. We're going to get into some TCG player changes to the back-end structure that affects sellers and could possibly, vis-a-vis the downwind effects of that affect you, the buyer. So we'll talk about that. But first, BJ, tell people what it is you do in that.
So I guess before I started doing coverage in 2016, I ran in the Atlanta scene a pretty big kind of tournament series and then streaming of Legacy and Vintage, and then went from that to doing stuff with Magic. So doing like TDing, so technical directing, directing a lot of that other stuff with like Rashad Miller and other folks, and then last few years for the larger events, I'm the graphics producer, and then for like DreamHack and the ACs, I'm involved usually directing those and other things like that.
Lots of back end. So if you've been at if you're I guess this makes you a Magic boomer now, but if you were at events back when we were doing GPs all the time, BJ is always the long-haired guy who would poke his head out from.
You mean the hot new girl on coverage?
Oh, sure, that's what I meant.
No, I have the screenshots from my first GP of GP Atlanta 2016 of everyone being like, "Who's the hot new girl on coverage?" And then I turn around and then you see Twitch chat just rip. They'll be like, "Oh, it's a dude." I was like, "Yeah."
The most enjoyable event BJ and I covered together, I think, was probably the Scrabble Championship.
Oh, that community is the most dichotomous thing I've ever come across, because it's the people you would think of that are on the spectrum, and I don't mean of alcoholism, I mean the other A, but they're on that spectrum, and then you have, because the one we did in New Orleans, I'll try to keep this as PG as possible, the guy who's I think in first or second place walks out, starts doing some origami in a cylindrical way, and is adding different concoctions to it, some from the 80s, some from the 70s, and some from I don't know what, and continues making this cylindrical object with it, and then asks Corbin and I, "Hey, do you want to do this?" and then go find some ladies of the night. And we're like, "Did you just make a Jeffrey? Like, who are you?" And the dude was like in second place. So it's like you have like a hardcore party scene and then the exact people you would think who play Scrabble. It is the craziest community I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was certainly a trip. That's for sure. Yeah. Well, the PT last weekend was was fun because everybody at home got to watch. Unlike most Pro Tours since we've come back, I guess all of them really, there wasn't a convention attached to the show. So what that meant is instead of like Magic's biggest fans and like online, influencers, content creators being at the convention and talking about the convention, because most of them were probably, subsidized by their own content or sponsors, whatever, they're there to do that. They're not getting a chance to watch the Pro Tour, even though they might like it a lot. This weekend, a lot of those people got to sit at home, actually enjoy the Pro Tour. So it was really fun for us to kind of have an opportunity to show off like a bunch of really cool stories, including, like Nicole Tipple, first Pro Tour, has a win in for top 8. Like Team Sanctum of All had several people in the top 8, which was, they kind of like innovated on the format. Again, like there was just a lot of really cool stuff, and we had center stage. So it was pretty fun from my perspective. Long as always, but yeah, I mean, what's your typical Pro Tour like, BJ?
Get there a day or two before, do setup. So for a while there, I was the cards in hand person. So that was memorizing the set.
You mean?
Do it.
We could blame you.
You can. Well, the one that I had the most fun at, because I would always have to memorize the sets, is I don't play limited. My few times that I had, it was against like Marshall, Paul Cheon, and it's like that is not a draft pot I want to be in as somebody who doesn't do it at all. But I think my favorite was 25th anniversary, when I was the person behind the legacy players, because it's like that's my format. So I was like, oh, I know all these cards and they're all in Japanese, so we're good to go here. But now it's a lot more pre-setup and then sitting in the truck and then going over graphics, because I don't think people realize that something like the Pro Tour versus like the NFL or something else, this is a graphic show with a splash of magic. So there's a lot of data that goes in there and a lot of other things that need to be organized and kept together, and API endpoints that are constantly changing for some reason or another and making all that stuff work. So
that's a good point, because like you mentioned, like the NFL, right? Almost everything you're doing is like jumping back and forth from game shot to game shot. Whereas in Magic, you're jumping back and forth from graphic to graphic.
Oh, yeah. And then this was a smaller Pro Tour, 207 players. So you're dealing with those 207 deck lists, plus, we'll say, another 40 limited lists that need to be populated and things like that. But it's always interesting keeping all that together and clean.
Yeah, fun stuff. Well, you can talk about any of this that might affect Legacy, I suppose. But let's get into sort of the other thing that broke during the Pro Tour. I mean, now the Pro Tour had some awesome standard decks, so you should honestly go check it out. Like, there's probably some more standard play opportunities coming up this year, if I were to guess, based on how popular things seem to have been. But hey, it was actually a pretty cool format. But the other thing that happened while people were watching standard being played is that they were talking about modern getting played, because Modern Horizons 3 leaks were dropping all over the place.
Isn't there a bad warping whale?
There's a lot of stuff. Well, it turns out that the person who was leaking them apparently might have had the figurative or literal, who knows, Pinkertons called on them, because it seemed like they had an apology tweet out over the last day. So what,
insert VPN sponsorship.
Like, what an expected ending to like the most obvious ending ever to this whole saga. By the way, Brainstorm confirmed not printed into Modern. You were getting trolled, people.
They're not putting that in there.
Like that.
I could see it.
Oh gosh, that would just be. I don't even know. Like that would be such a like jump the shark moment to me. As like we're making Legacy.
That's
like,
what the end goal is here.
The end goal has always been to have an eternal rotating format that plays like Legacy, that they are not bound by the restricted lists, of course, but like, reserve list. But of course, like that doesn't mean we're literally gonna make it Brainstorm format. You know, wouldn't they've always said that like Legacy wouldn't have Brainstorm if it wasn't already sort of baked into the format?
Yeah,
but I mean, can't ban it now because no one would play.
It's a pillar of the format, whether or not you like it. And if people want to see Modern get completely wrecked and see how quickly that card just gets banned, I mean, that will warp towards combo. That's going to warp towards control decks. People are not going to.
Also, it would just be nothing but shuffle games.
Yeah.
No one wants shuffling. Yeah, so that screamed to me in the beginning, like, there's no way they'll do this, right? And then confirmed they didn't do it. Confirmed, we'll see what turns out being real or not, but lots of trolling mixed in with the real cards.
Or they make a brainstorm, but after you do it, then you scry one. It's like, it's a different card. That'd be so broken.
I don't know. What's your take on it, DJ, with the leaks and the whole, like, where are you at on, does this, like, kind of matter? Like, because what Wizards was responsive to it, they moved up their, whatever release plan they had, they moved up, and a big article dropped on it today on the mothership. They seem to be ahead of it, more or less, as much as they can be.
Well, setting aside the fact that it is just an impressive level of consistency in how frequently we get leaks, I do appreciate that sometimes sowing the seeds of doubt among leaks helps sell cards that would not otherwise sell.
True.
I know there was some amount of ambiguity about Kappa Cannoneer when it was being leaked, whether or not the set symbol was correct. There was like a whole conversation about whether or not this was a real leak or whether or not it was a troll, like Brainstorm. And I had a few people reach out and buy Kappa Cannoneers on the just in case logic of, well, I don't know if this is real or not, but I'm willing to hedge my $20 or $30 just in case. And during the Modern Horizons 2 preview season, we saw Shardless Agent get previewed, and I remember selling plenty of those for like $10 to $20 a playset, and that card was a bulk rare very shortly after the set release. So I am happy to capitalize on other people's frenzied FOMO and worried just desire to get things in hand based on snapshot information. I tend to believe that preview seasons like this are very good for sales and can help move cards that may or may not be real, but I don't care. I am happy to move the needle on them because I know what I paid on the card and get out of it. I tend not to be somebody that chases spikes as new cards are getting previewed. Like if Ugin's Labyrinth works really well with such and such, I'm not the person to go out and buy all the copies of that and then hope to make the quick flip. I am just very much a fan of trusting the process, and I think the only actionable I will take is trying to make sure that I get out of cards when they are previewed and ship them to whatever unfortunate buy list fails to update their buy list.
I wish I was better about that, especially over the last few years.
Buy honestly, the rumor, sell the news.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's a good way to put it, right? And but I've been so bad about getting burned about cards that I have, and then they just get ground into dust on reprints, and that stuff used to kind of just like wash out with cards that went up in price. These days, I don't think it is. I'm feeling that as I'm starting to dig through. I cleaned out my closets. I went through the backpacks from Magicons and sold those and all those things. I'm feeling I'm going to be disappointed about some of the cards I come across and seeing how far they have fallen.
What are you not disappointed with? This Flare of Denial that seems like it's perfect for Merfolk?
I don't care about that card.
What?
To be honest, I don't.
It's a sick card.
It's a cool card. I think it's. I think that this might be a hot take, and we don't want to. We're happy to get into some of this. I don't want to spend too much time talking about Merfolk because
yeah, you do.
Because I could. I think that it's a lot easier to exile a card from your hand with Force of Will or Force of Negation than it is to sacrifice a creature in play.
Yeah, this feels like it loses a lot of tempo, I say, as a non-Merfolk player.
Well, right, and especially when you consider that Merfolk these days is not like this. It's in Modern, it's kind of like you play a thing, interact, and then you like the game kind of like is decided on like turn 5 or 6, and it's decided because you have things in play and you're spending cards from your hand to counter things. If you give up your board presence, you're no longer having the clock. Merfolk doesn't have a lot of 1-drops. It really wants to sacrifice for value anymore, right? Your 1-drop, you want to come down on turn 2 with your Tide Shaper, and then that is actually, you want it in play to mess up their land. You don't necessarily want to throw it away. It's like fine, but I think that in the matchups where you need a free counter spell, you probably get away just fine with Force of Negation, at least most of the time. So I see it as a sideboard option probably more than anything. I'm more excited about the Magus of the Island. the 3-mana 2/2 Merfolk that turns all non-basic lands into islands.
That's insane.
I sold an example. I sold a lot of Masterpiece Boil, the Amonkhet 4-mana red sorcery that destroys all
Nice.
islands. Very happy to get out of those that have been sitting in inventory for 3 or 4 years, just because I would buy them in collections. Oh, buy one of every Masterpiece collection, and they would just sit there in inventory and not sell for $20 or something. And then finally, somebody reaches out and just says, I need all your boils. And I said, sure. I don't know why, but here you go. And then 10 hours later, I make the connection, and maybe it'll be the best new thing in Modern is blue-red land destruction, but
Blue Moon,
that's
baby.
fine. Take your
I'm
margin
here
and
for
move on, folks.
Yeah, the one card I think that should be banned immediately from all formats because it's too broken is Meltdown.
Wait, what?
It's
Any
too
personal
strong.
bias there?
Yeah, I play Metalworker.
Yeah, I was
Artifact
gonna
destruction
say.
should go away.
I don't know if that would really be much of a problem, but these cards seem cool. What about the Planeswalkers? The 1-mana flip Planeswalkers or 2-mana, the really low cost Planeswalkers. Any thoughts on those, BJ?
I haven't even seen those. I
Ooh.
found Nethergoyf, which I was
Yeah,
like,
man.
that's sick. Because I'm a boomer and just now found these. The Walmart version of Warping Whale and Null Elemental Blast are probably the two that I've seen that I'm most excited about.
Hell yeah. Right? Like the Null Elemental Blast.
It's sick.
There's Null Drifter for Mole Drifter. Like, yeah. It's cool.
From a flavor perspective, I do feel a little distaste of them just slapping Eldrazi flavor onto everything and trying to just call it a renaissance, or I don't know. It feels a little like putting a detective hat on everything, or putting a cowboy hat on it. It's just, oh, this but Eldrazi, because we know people like Eldrazi. Is
the problem then that there's not enough, like, that the designs on Eldrazi are not interesting, or that you just don't
The
want
designs on
more
Eldrazi are interesting. That's the thing.
That's
is
what I
that
mean. Yeah.
they're interesting as Eldrazi.
Uh-huh.
I feel like they lose that Eldrazi-ness when you start just using it as a Dragon Ball Z fusion with everything that comes to mind that has a semblance of nostalgia. Like, what if they were just like Baneslayer Eldrazi, or like Jace the Eldrazi sculptor? Like, it's just, come on.
Well, there's only so many designs in Magic, right? And they have to make quite a few of them these days. Yeah, the Modern Horizon sets are meant to be derivative, I guess, is how the thing I would say. Like a card like, say, Winter Moon. Players can't untap more than one non-basic land during their
Just
untap
bad
sets.
Winter
It's-
Orb.
Correct, right? So, but like that's the point of the Modern Horizon sets, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like Eldrazi are a home run in the world building of Magic, and you lose some of that when you start stapling it to everything else.
Yeah, like, so for instance, just stapling it onto a Modern Horizon set instead of like an actual story driven type thing.
No, it's just not necessarily the Horizons-ness of it, but just adding it to culturally resonate cards and just calling it a day. Like, oh, we're adding Devoid to this, and it's Mole Drifter. Check next one. Broodmate Dragon. Check add it Devoid and give it Annihilator. Next one. I don't know.
Spawn Gang Commander, which is what Siege Gang pretty much, but it's
that one's flavorful. That one's nice. That one's neat.
I like it.
I like that one too.
How about White of the Reliquary?
It looks sick.
Well, I mean, it's dead, not sick. It's a zombie.
It can still be sick.
He got better.
Card's incredible. So people don't know, it's a green-black 2/2 vigilance. When it gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard. Sack another creature, search your library for a land card, put on the battlefield tapped. Just a really, really nice riff on Night of the Reliquary. But I guess, DJ, like, maybe this is not your point exactly, but it is kind of like, as I'm thinking through what you were saying here, there's a difference between taking Panharmonicon effect and putting it on each iteration of a thing, and like actually taking Night of the Reliquary and sort of evolving it in a way like this. I think is sort of like a good difference, because I look at White of the Reliquary and I'm like, yeah, that's a really cool sort of take on a evolution of Night of the Reliquary. It's not just slapping Devoid.
Yeah, Psychic Frog is great. White of the Reliquary is great. Nethergoyf is great. I I don't mind the new Emrakul. It's a different version of Emrakul we've never seen before. It has a lot of interesting play patterns. It's still Emrakul. It is still that still has a lot of the things we've seen in previous versions of Emrakul. I just don't love Null Drifter and Spawn Gang Commander specifically because of just how just copy paste they feel, and those aren't Eldrazi. Like,
no, very reasonable.
There's a lot of designs in Eldritch Moon I kind of felt the same way about, where it's this but Eldrazi, and that's not what Eldrazi are. They are supposed to be this, and I'm bringing out my lore master here.
That makes sense.
Of Ryan Bashard's Ghost, but like they are this very home run. There's nothing else. I mean, it is very Lovecraftian, sure, but like there's nothing else like in Magic that just feels like Eldrazi. There's nothing else in this like sort of world building that has the same flavor of Eldrazi, except when you're just stapling it onto things and calling it colorless.
No, you're right. It's cowboy hats, right?
Yeah,
like,
that was the best analogy I can think of.
Yeah, it's cowboy hats all the way down. Now that you explain it.
Wintermoon is great. White of the Reliquary is great. No notes there. No notes on the null
Uggin's Labyrinth, Uggin's Cave. You know about those?
Yeah, I think those are fine.
Those are. I'm so excited.
I don't know if they're good or not. I'm not good at the Magic the Gathering card game, but
Chalice on 1 on turn 1. That's what is possible now. Like
it's called
Uggin's Labyrinth
Traders.
Yeah, like Uggin's Labyrinth, exile Eternal Scourge, cast Chalice on 1, have Eternal Scourge to cast from exile. Like that is going to happen, and that all to me is just like the coolest type of play, unless of course it becomes broken.
Eternal Scourge is the one that costs 3, right?
I don't think I've seen these cards yet.
Eternal Scourge is the Eldritch Moon rare that is a 3-mana 3/3 that you can.
Oh, sorry, you're right.
Yeah,
Chalice on 1, very much a powerful, and that is going to be a thing that happens in Modern now, I think, and that seems like it'll be pretty cool to me. I could be wrong, but I'm excited. So I don't know. I've actually been a fan of Modern Horizons, sort of what they've done to the format over the years. I don't know how you all feel about that.
You are a known Hogak enjoyer from last week.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Well,
we did have a conversation specifically about MH3, and you were like, Hogak wouldn't be that bad, and then Cass just...
I understand. Look, Hogak would be busted, sure. What I've said is that I feel like Modern was a series of ships passing in the night before the Horizon sets, and there's a lot of interaction. They become a quote-unquote rotating format or whatever you want to put it like that, but there's a lot more interaction between the decks now. We're not seeing decks just race to combo people off on turn 3 with no interaction. Like the format has become closer to Legacy in that way, and in my opinion, better. And now, that said, I felt like it was in a decent spot as it is now, so I'm not sure what Modern Horizons 3 is going to do to it. Thus far, I'm seeing cards that I think are cool, but like White of the Reliquary, awesome. Priest of Titania, awesome. Null Drifter, I don't know if that'll be good. The Recurring Nightmare card, that might be cool.
Is this the first time Priest is in Modern?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that is huge.
It is potentially huge, but Modern 1-drops have a support group right now. Or Modern X1s have a support group right now for Orcish Bowmaster related crimes.
That is the thing. Yeah.
Whatever. Bowmaster didn't warp a bunch of formats. Oh, wait, yeah, it did. Bowmaster plus Grief. Why Legacy isn't fun right now.
Well, the thing about Elves is that perhaps you could overload, like Elves specifically could maybe overload on 1/1 X1s, right? Because like Priest of Titania is far from the only X1 that's kind of like you got to kill in Elves, and then they have several Lords that can get them out of range. I don't know. I guess the thing is, like, if you play against an Elves deck, you kind of have to Bowmaster their 1-drop, and then their Priest is going to sit there. You know, that was kind of my thought. Like, and otherwise, then you're not Bowmastering their Elvish Visionary, and then you're probably just screwed anyway. That was my thought.
Yeah, I mean, extra threats, they only have so much removal.
Yeah. So, I mean, that said, that's not exactly a good argument. Like Bowmasters is obviously still devastating. It's just maybe Elves specifically.
Cass is going to listen to this and call us morons and everywhere.
Maybe we'll see. Elves is dangerous. I just say that, right? Like, Elves is a deck that it still has a card banned in Modern, right? Like Glimpse of Nature has been there from the
So
beginning.
is Green Sun.
Well, true. You can't get those Dryad Arbors for your those Nicattles, But yeah. All right. Well, let's move on then to the next thing, which is it's time for a game that BJ does not know about. So it's going to be fun. DJ and I are going to quiz.
I'll do
BJ
terribly.
here.
Don't worry.
It's time for Breaking Bulk.
Breaking bulk time. Breaking bulk time. Break.
Oh, yeah, Breaking Bulk. There's so much good stuff.
It's a pick. Breaking bulk. The end.
If you're a Magic Boomer, you might get this one.
Oh, Jesus.
So, BJ, the rules of Breaking Bulk are we give each other hints about a card that we typically find in bulk that is, in fact, not bulk. So, like, the thing is, like, $1, $1.50 uncommon that you get in bulk that people don't realize is worth money.
Oh, I got a good one then.
Oh, well, okay. Well, we'll let DJ start here, and we'll see how we do on this guessing game.
Fallen Empire's rare.
Okay, cool.
It's
Fuck you.
it's colorless.
Oh. It's not Barbed Sextant.
Nope. Corbin, would you
Look-
like to?
No one knows what's in that set. It's not a real set. Magic started in 2000.
What? Do you not play pre-modern?
No,
What is the casting cost of said
I
card?
have kids.
3.
Is it an amulet?
No.
I just want to look at the set. I don't know at the moment. This is all Corbin.
No, it's not. We need Jason. Jason or Cass for the old sets. I do the new sets. I'm very good at the new ones.
This is a precursor to the idea of equipment. It is called Zelion Sword, and I have no idea who this card sells to, but it does actually have /volume. This is market price of around $1. It is 3 mana artifact, and you can pay 3 and tap it to give target creature +2/+0 as long as the sword remains tapped, and you can choose to have it tapped for as long as you want. You can pay 6 to give a Bone Splitter style effect. People are paying up to $1 for this. I'm looking at the completed sales in TCG, maybe 12 or 15 copies in the past month, which is wild, but
Yeah, no kidding.
I don't know if this is just a couple people trying to fill out sets of Fallen Empires, or if you tell me, get in the comments. If you're a Zelion Sword buyer, let me know. I can supply you. I got your fix. Tell me what this weird bulk rare adjacent thing is doing and why.
Yeah, that's one I definitely have never heard of. And I was tricked as a child when that set came out. I remember the store being like, "Oh, we got a deal on Fallen Empires. It's only $1.75 per pack," and being so excited, and then
What a
so
deal.
broken.
Oh.
So broken.
All right. I've got a new one then, DJ, all of you J's. Innistrad Crimson Vow. Red common.
Ren's Resolve?
No.
Is that March of the
I don't
Machine?
think that's in. I don't think that's in this.
Yeah, it's
set,
March of the
but it's a
Machine.
Good guess though. Yeah.
Is it a thing that does the same thing as Ren's Resolve?
No. It has this card has a very unique effect, and it's a
End the
dollar.
Also-
festivities.
Good call, DJ.
Also, isn't Ren's Resolve 1 in a colorless?
I didn't.
I'm
hear-
sorry, red in a colorless.
Yeah. In the festivities is 1 red. It deals 1 damage to each opponent and each creature and planeswalker they control. It's a sorcery. It's really good in these decks that need to deal 1 damage to their opponents to trigger whatever it is it unlocks for their turn, whether it's, Spectacle or whatever else, right? Like it works in these very particular kind of decks. And it's $1. Neat little card. All right, BJ, DJ, I hate all of you. BJ,
Yeah, so
you
do
said
I just,
you were ready for this.
do I just
do
give a
you have-
set? Or what do
Yeah,
I
Give
do?
us
like
a
set
set
and color
and a
is
card
and rarity
and a-
is usually the default, but you can mix it up if you'd like.
All right, we're going colorless.
Okay, what's that?
Marcadian Masks.
No one cares. Tangle Wire.
Credit voucher?
Yo.
Did I get it?
Yes.
Woo!
What's this card?
It's a 2-drop. Pay 2, sacrifice it. Sacrifice credit voucher. Shuffle any numbers of cards from your hand into your library, then draw that many cards. It is a mud staple that nobody else plays.
I did not have many other guesses beyond that.
I love how you
I will pull
nailed-
back. I will pull back the curtain and say that was my one round in the chamber. But
I apologize for the F-bomb, but I did not expect just
Oh, don't worry.
straight.
That just creates more work for JJ because he has to put a little clicking noise every time someone says.
I mean,
Yeah, so like instead of saying it'll be a little like it's great.
true.
Corbin, what do you think that sound is supposed to be?
I think it's someone leaning into their microphone and going
Or a closed hi-hat.
Corbin,
that was my guess. I don't know.
we created this sound together in the group chat. It is the tss of somebody popping a beer.
Oh, it's someone popping a beer. That makes sense.
It's
Okay.
it's the pop top sound. It's Jason opening a can. It fits with the brand. We went over this.
No, I guess that makes sense. But like, I don't know. I kind of liked my thing too.
No.
Just an ASMR.
That's what it always sounds like when I listen to it. I don't know.
Well, I will give you the smallest amount of participation trophy for listening to the cast enough to hear it, I guess.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's move on to the next thing though, which I don't know if this is good or not. And if people listening to this cast are going to appreciate DJ's opinion because this is probably one of the, foremost experts on this type of fee structure and how it affects things. So with that said, DJ, do you want to explain to people just sort of what the latest update from the TCG Player Marketplace is?
This is a post that I learned about through a vendor Discord that I'm a part of. I will read you the summarization of the email that was sent out today to direct sellers. We have updated our direct policy as of April 30th. In our ongoing efforts to maintain the quality of the direct program, we are introducing a new accuracy requirement for reimbursement invoices. For those who don't know, a reimbursement invoice is when the direct seller sends the package to TCG Player of all of the cards that they have sold over the past few days. So if you're a buyer, you buy all these cards on direct, you get one package. All the cards that one seller sold, along with all the cards that seller sold to everyone else, they send the package to TCG Player. Up until this point, there has been I don't want to say zero accuracy checks, but there has not been punishment for a low grade. There's not been active removal of sellers from the program, as far as I know. And now continuing, moving forward, all direct sellers will be expected to maintain a minimum accuracy rate of 98%. Additionally, we will be providing monthly metric updates for you, including accuracy rates, to help you monitor and improve your performance. We are committed to enhancing the direct program through continuous improvements, etc., etc. Failure to meet the new accuracy requirement can result in warnings and eventual removal from the direct program, etc., etc. I think this change is very, very
that's
good.
a lot. Yeah, so it sounds like a lot. So like,
Who's
what's
auditing
sort of the
this?
takeaway
Like,
there?
are they hiring a bunch more people to do this, or are they just going to claim they're doing it and then not actually do it?
Well, they've been doing it. They have the data already. Is the thing. So anytime a direct seller sends a package to TCG, that package is received by TCG, and then somebody at the warehouse in the receiving team will go through and verify that you have sent the correct cards. So they will mark down any condition discrepancies, any card where it was the wrong set, or any card that was the wrong variant or wrong foiling, etc. They will mark down that data, and then they will that person at TCG Player will record that, and then the cards that you sent that were not correct will be held for you in something called your seller extra inventory, which is eventually sent back to you. And in order to make sure that TCG Player has the correct card for that customer, TCG will then go buy that card off the marketplace, charge you as the seller for it because you sent them the wrong version, and so you will foot the bill for that. And then TCG Player will make sure that the customer gets the correct card that they ordered. So if you are a seller on direct, you send a 100 card RI in, let's say 4 of the cards were moderately played. If you do that over and over and over and over again, you will have a 96% accuracy rating, and then you will presumably, after this update, start having a conversation with TCG Player where they reach out to you and say, hey, your accuracy ratings are not up to snuff. These are where you need improvement. And presumably they will workshop with you according to the verbiage of this email. They will not just start hacking people away from the direct program immediately. But up until this point, there has been no punishment or negative action taken on sellers who have fail to meet this. So if you were a failure or not up to snuff with your grading, you'd be losing a lot of money on TCG Player because they're buying all these extra copies of cards to send out on your behalf and charging you for them, but you would not be actively communicated through TCG Player or potentially removed from the platform. And so,
well, yeah, I mean, we've talked about this a lot, about how hard it is sometimes to get the exact versions of things you want.
Or actually get the cards sent.
Wow.
Right. And
I stopped using TCG Player a while ago. I got burned enough times of never getting the cards, literally dealing with TCG Player, trying to get refunds, and just getting the run around to where I was like, I don't care anymore. And I just stopped using them personally.
And unfortunately for you, that is a feature, not a bug, by TCG Player. They are certainly not incentivized to give you an amazing experience when you are not using their direct program. They want you to have a bad experience with non-direct sellers to incentivize you. Hey, if you want to get all your cards, and make sure they're all the right set and all the right condition, etc., you could just, pay a hefty amount more and use our direct program, and then we get a bigger cut of the money. So, I mean, yeah.
I'd rather use, I don't want to sit here and give free marketing, but there are companies that have done me well since 2004, and I will stick with those companies.
For sure, yeah. And that is a outcome of that I'm sure they have unfortunately taken into account, for sure. I personally think this update is a good thing overall for sellers who are in the direct program, who are on the up and up, and who have this very high accuracy rating. I know a lot of sellers on the direct program will default to listing everything as lightly played, and they just refuse to list near mint copies to avoid any sort of
that's what we always did.
Extremist grading, because near mint foils are notoriously impossible to get submitted to direct from TCG Player if you're a seller. And I think that this is just a good way to actively remove sellers who should not be in the direct program. And if you are a seller that this benefits, you can clearly see that fewer sellers in the direct program means that the direct premium could be even higher. There's fewer sellers racing to the bottom, pricing things below what you want to price them at, and then that means your copies sell for a higher price as long as you have all the systems in place to accommodate that.
I think that's the most relevant, is the change to racing to the bottom. Like, that's
for sure,
something I like a lot, actually.
I think that there are already fewer direct sellers on the platform than the average Joe thinks about.
Yeah, that's probably true.
I'm sure if you interview somebody, if you take like a scattershot approach at a Magic Con or something, and you say, hey, how many direct sellers do you think are on TCG Player? I think the number from the responses would be much higher on average than in reality, especially once you narrow that down even further to sellers who really know what they're doing and really have their processes streamlined in the year of 2024, when Wizards has made it that much harder to maintain accuracy on these kinds of things. And so, this is narrowing the pool of sellers who will be able to give you a good quality experience. And if you've ever bought from Card Kingdom or bought from these stores that are very large and not on TCG Player, I'm sure you're aware that you are paying for that positive experience and that inventory depth. So we've talked a lot on this podcast about, hey, if you are somebody with a lot of inventory depth and breadth, then you can list your cards for higher, because people want to receive one package, and Card Kingdom takes advantage of that by selling $60 Cyclonic Rifts when TCG Player is at $45 or something like that. And so you'll see that same pricing system just on TCG Direct when you click that checkbox.
Yeah. All right. It's a good explanation. All right. Before we get on out of here with Pick of the Week, we wanted to bring you a treat. This is a bit of a throwback segment. I honestly don't even know the last time we did it. Like, it could be like 3 years since the last time we did this segment, and I'd believe it. This is, and look, even the name of this segment is just a boomer reference now. But with that preamble, it is time for From the Vault emails.
This is the segment all about how Corbin didn't read your emails and he got blown out. So if you transcribed a set review, too fucking bad for you.
Alright, onward.
From the vault. If we didn't read your email, don't blame Jason all.
Or would you like to sing the theme song for From the Vault emails?
Oh no, I don't. I wish I remembered it. I don't.
Oh, Corbin.
Kid brain, man. DJ, what is it? Do you know?
From the vault. If we didn't read your email, it's Corbin's fault.
Ooh, that's a banger.
That is kind of a banger.
To add context for any new listeners we may have scraped up over the past few years, this is a segment where Corbin used to be in charge of listener email submissions, and used to is a fairly accurate term for good reason, where he stockpiled several listener emails over the course of a few years and then discovered them akin to a gold miner in the Wild West digging up a mother lode. And in I believe 2018 or 2019, we found this archaic
repository of messages.
I was gonna say
Messages in a
IBM.
bottle.
I was gonna say IBM 5100 of just hard drive of emails that
I was going to say literary dystopia, but different places.
Look, it's great though. We have all of it. The full context is that back then, the people on the podcast hated doing emails. They hated it. We tried to do an email on every show, and they'd never want me to read them to them. So then they said, we'll do mailbags. So I'd save emails, and then we would never do mailbags. And then there'd be emails, and then it'd be 6 years later, and I'd be like, well, I don't want to read an email now that's 6 months old. That is embarrassing. And now here we are. It's a great segment.
But it is a lot funnier to read them from 8 to 10 years ago when
Agreed.
you have a...
Moral of the story, if you get emails sent to you, don't let your co-hosts tell you that they'll do a mailbag episode. They won't.
Also, send us emails. It's been a while since we asked about that. Send us emails so we can do a mailbag episode, because it's been a hot minute since we asked for this. We've had new co-hosts on. We've had a lot of new guests on. Magic has changed a lot over the past couple of years. I think the last mailbag we did was during COVID lockdown.
Yeah, you're probably right. So brainstormbrew@gmail.com. Get those questions in. About anything, by the way. Magic, not magic.
Cooking recipes.
Yeah, I won't be able to help you there. But all right, with all of that said, it is time for an email. And this email came to us via Sean.
The internet.
Sean Owensby. The date? Thursday, June 12th, 2014.
Almost 10 years old.
10 years ago. The subject, which was, of course, sent to brainstormbrew@gmail.com, where all of you should send your emails. The subject is shipping MP/HP expensive cards. I have a couple of HP Underground Seas that are sleeve playable that I am looking to get rid of. What is the best way to turn these into other capital? At a recent SCG Open, they were offering $130 cash on each of them. But even the seller said he didn't advise selling these for us at that price. Maybe he shouldn't have admitted that. What is the best way to break down something such as the given two scenarios? Would you treat Tarmogoyfs the same way? How about cards like Candelabra or Motor Tabernacle? Scenario 1, I want cash. Scenario 2, I want cash, but find it hard to find people who want good trades or even on such an expensive card.
Okay, so
there's a couple things here breaking down. Like Tarmogoyf was put on the same level as Underground Sea, Moat, Tabernacle. Love that.
Things have changed. Like 2013 was the inflection point of legacy cards getting really expensive.
I will add a visualization to your price memory here, brought to you by mtgstocks.com, the premier place to update your pricing lists, update your data on where to check prices. You can look back at this 10 to 12-year-old data. It goes back as far as middle of 2012, so we can see all these little heart rate monitor number, like little graph looking things on Underground Sea, to where it continues to go up to its $800-ish price tag today. MTG stocks, you can check Sealed, you can check Pokemon, you can check Yu-Gi-Oh, you can check Star Wars, you can check Lorcana, you can check probably a couple other games that people are going to nag me about, asking if I'm going to get into.
Yep. Flesh and Blood, DJ, come on.
Oh yeah. So to add context, spring of 2014 is when Underground Sea had its first really big spike, from around $180 to $300, so it close to doubled, and people lost their minds that a card could be worth that much while still being legal in Legacy.
Yep.
So this is after this price spike, where somebody is now holding $1 million in 2024 money. And how do you ship it? Well, I mean, if you are somebody who has never sold a high-end card before, you can certainly send it to a BIOS and take a small hit off that. Dual lands, in terms of margin, have remained about the same over the past 10 years. I mean,
I would think so. Honestly.
We've had hot points where a lot of duels got exported to Japan, where there was a huge arbitrage opportunity, and any average Joe with an Underground Sea could get TCG low plus 10% at a GP because vendors were so hungry for them because they were getting guaranteed margins from Asia. That era has certainly died down along with the yen. But, I mean, if you're looking to sell out of something that is this high-end, I mean, if Jason was here, he'd be parroting about Card Sphere, which I don't think is a bad choice. Card Sphere is sort of the fixed version of Puka Trade as a peer-to-peer trading method with very minimal fees as long as you are keeping your money within the ecosystem. And then you can cash out for a fee akin to TCG Player, so you could sell your Underground Sea or, air quotes, trade it to another player, and then keep your money within the system and use it to get a lot of other cards you're looking for, or you could just sell it on the platform and cash out for that 10-ish% fee. Very reasonable option. You could sell it on Facebook Marketplace or some other Discord group that is designed for selling cards. Though if you're selling something that's high end, you'll probably either have to ship first to a reputable person who has a lot of references, and of course be very careful with payment methods. You might be willing to take that 4% hit from PayPal goods and services to guarantee the fact that you have recourse in that situation. So
when she gets
a lot of situations like that where you're probably just going to have to pay a small convenience fee to guarantee security or risk it for the biscuit.
For me?
The Biscuit Jesus? No, he was not referring to you.
All right, cool.
All right, next email. And look, I'm going to be honest. It's possible we've read this one before, but we're going to read it again because it's a banger. It's from 2014. Hey, Brainstorm Brewery guys. Love the podcast. Just a few quick questions. I recently bought into Modern and am wondering what the announcement of the fetches will do to current Modern staples. I keep reading that it might make everything worse since the reprint will let more players enter Modern. Where do you see Goif, Bob, Click, and others rising once Cons comes out? The only thing that could help stabilize prices would be Modern Masters 2. We probably won't get an announcement for that until next year. Thanks, Michael.
Ooh.
How the mighty have fallen.
Yeah.
What do you see the prices for Goif, Bob, and Click doing once Cons comes out?
Polluted Delta at time of this person's email. For what it's worth, this person wrote their email during the Obama administration, just to give you a little
Yeah, it was just like a few days ago.
Polluted Delta was $110 in that moment.
Okay.
More than half the price of a Underground Sea.
10 years ago, Polluted Delta was $110. And after Cons of Tarkir, we all remember it was around like 40 or so, even for 40 to 20, depending on the variation of the card you were getting. But man, I put Ravnica Dark Confidants in like the $3 to $4 section on my buy mat, and I still feel like I am paying too much nowadays.
Yeah. Reasonable.
Orcish Bowmasters, it is not.
Yup.
Yeah, that card.
Yup.
And it's weird that they keep making promos of it too. That's like the crazy thing, right? Is that we keep getting like borderless Dark Confidant promos, and we keep getting Gideon Ally of Zendikar promos in the year of our Lord 2023. Like we can do something else. We can pick other cards.
It's 2024, DJ.
No, but Gideon was the
I'm kidding.
San Diego thing last year. Oh, that's true. Like, I guess I didn't take into consideration Modern Horizons 3 and Wizards being very generous by giving us the special guest Fury.
Oh, how, yes. Love that. All right, last one here. This one comes to us from the world of 2016, okay? So it's still Obama administration, though. Adam says, I think you should have a new segment. You should call it From Bulk to Bucks, with the segment theme being a cash register cha-ching sound effect. I love the show. I always look forward to listening every week. Thanks for the endless hours of entertainment, Adam. Thanks, Adam.
I think we read this and then
Created Breaking Bulk.
I think we crowdsourced the name for Breaking Bulk shortly after this.
I think you're right. All right, everybody. Before we get out of here this week, it is, of course, time for our last segment, brought to you by the MTG Stock sponsor we mentioned earlier. We always appreciate them. This is how we go into the MTG Stock's interests. We go deep down the page. We can find all the cards that are moving up or down in price. And that is how we find the best pick of the weeks.
Pick of the week, pick of the week, pick of the week. Time for the pick of the week.
For you every week, these are the cards we think are going to go up in price here in the short term, or at least cards we think that maybe you should get now if you want to get your hands on them because they're not going, they're at a low. So that is the segment. It is how we end every show. We thank all of you for being with us, DJ and BJ, myself this week. BJ, thanks for coming on.
Well,
and
you're right.
if you have a pick, we'll let you take the honors of going first.
I wish we did this like 2 weeks ago when I grabbed a bunch of these, but because I got into Star Wars Unlimited, I would say Vigilance, because that card has been ripping.
Yeah, that's great. What is that one specifically?
It's each one of the types has basically a double cost.
This is Star Wars you're hitting us with?
I am.
I see. You
Cass-
got to tell people then what is the game? What is
Cass
the game?
recently picked a Star Wars card as their pick of the week, so you're in good company.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it is. It is very much allowed. It is your pick of the week. But tell people what is the very general? What is the Star Wars? Is it a card game? What
It
what's
is
the
a
Star Wars everyone's
TCG
talking
that
about?
hopefully will not be the third Tombstone that Fantasy Flight Games makes, because they killed Destiny and several other ones. But it's the new one. I think it's awesome. Love the way the game works. I'm a big fan of the art, where a lot of people may not be, but I'm super bullish on the game. We'll see if it dies with the next set or if it keeps going. They basically are doing 4 sets. I'm sorry, a new set every 4 months and have the next 3 years plotted out already. But so far, it's an awesome game, and I spec'd on it super early, and I feel like I got pretty lucky, especially like this card I'm saying, Vigilance. That I grabbed for like $10 a few weeks ago, and now they're sitting around $60.
Pretty good. All right, I'll hop in here next. I've got a Ravnica Remastered reprint. It got upshifted to Mythic for Ravnica Remastered, by the way. It was not that originally, but good old Teferi Time Ravel.
Oh, Teferi?
It's $7. This is basically it came out in Ravnica Remastered. The War of the Spark one tumbled down to this price. Now they've both sort of settled at $7 or so. This, maybe it'll go down a little lower, but this is a card that still gets played in a lot of different places and a lot of different formats. And I think it's probably a nice going to be bottomed out here at this point. More likely to be, $10 than it's going to be $4, right? So I like Teferi at $7.
Nice.
All right, DJ, honors of finishing up this week. What are you looking at?
So I talked about Eldrazi earlier, and I kind of gave them a hard time for their little clown fiesta cosplay they've got going on this set. But there are still plenty of Eldrazi in this set that are viable and will find homes among Commander, Modern, etc. everywhere. And there's a card that I think has to dodge reprints, and it's, I think, one of the most famous Eldrazi cards of all. I have Ugin right now. Is sitting at around $38 to $40, and that is cresting on its laurels of Commander Masters last year when we got an Eldrazi Precon, so you could get a whole pre-constructed deck of Eldrazi. Ugin was notably absent from it because the card is bonkers, and they can't put it in the Modern Horizons 3 set because the card's not legal in Modern. And I think the card would just break a whole ton of parity if it was in, for those who are living under a sort of calcified, devoid rock. There is an Eldrazi Precon this set too for Modern Horizons 3. We do have a Modern set attached to our Commander product this time. It's kind of weird, but we're all living with it. And I think Ugin, if it dodges these reprints, which I think it will, it is certainly on the it certainly has a bullseye on it for getting reprinted if it's not in MH3 or its Commander adjacent product.
It could be like a secret layer card, right? Kind of thing where they could stick it, since they don't really since it's obviously not in Modern, they could find a way to do a printing, but even that wouldn't destroy the value.
Right, and the secret layer would presumably be bought a lot. There's only a limited print run of secret layers now. There's a whole lot of factors here. Of course, they do have a lot of reprint avenues, but if you are somebody who has their eyes on the new Eldrazi and was deeply offended by my tirade against the lore of the Eldrazi in their little Siege Gang Commander hats nowadays, I think you, angry listener, are the person who needs to go spend $40 on their Ayavugan right now before it becomes $70. We only saw Ayavugan at 40 once before, and that was during its 3-week Eldrazi winter run, right after Oath of Gatewatch came out. We didn't really get the chance to see where that price spike was going to settle at. But it settled at 40 after Commander Masters, and then we have another Eldrazi precon on the horizon. So I think the the Masterpiece version can comfortably sit at 100. And I think that the regular version could comfortably sit at 60 to 80.
Yeah, that's reasonable, especially if it's still viewed as like a legacy type thing, right?
I did clear out Card Kingdom of 2 remaining copies they had of the Masterpiece. They had them listed for 70, I think, and again, with the credit conversion, that's very affordable for the Masterpiece one specifically. They only had 2 copies, but I certainly would have bought up to 8 if they had them.
All right, there you go. And I think that does it for us here. Wait, what's that? Oh, I'm getting word from my producer that Jason is phoning in from the beyond with a bonus pick of the week.
Ooh.
It is. It's a very spooky one. He says he's a big fan of Bloodghast, thanks to old White of the Reliquary. So, and of course, the future sack of black creature black card in the cycle is that comes out. So, yeah, there you go, everybody. You can get Jason's Bloodghast to the bank as well. We thank all of you for listening to us here on Brainstorm Brewery. Remember to check out our sponsors, MTG Stocks, as well as Coalesce Apparel and Design, where you can get any of your favorite Magic content creators apparel with a discount if you use the gift code Brainstorm Brewery. So we appreciate that. We appreciate our sponsors. Appreciate all of you listening. BJ, thanks again for coming on, man. Where can people find you across the internet?
Not that you would want to, but it'd be at the Biscuit Jesus. Also, shout out to Cedric picks very good quality on those shirts. Those shirts are so comfortable, by the way. The Coalesce stuff.
We love them.
I absolutely love them.
And shout out to CRH for hosting this podcast.
On that note, everybody, thank you so much for listening to Brainstorm Brewery. We'll see you next week.
Goodbye.